What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dove. With our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
Week one of the playoffs in the book. What a terrible, terrible week of football to watch. It
was dreadful.
But
the only reason I'm still in the playoffs anywhere is because I had two teams on the bye.
Nice. I had a bye team, and luckily for me, Chris Godwin was on that team. That was magnificent. And so I didn't even get to play him in the playoffs. I'm getting ready to drop him. And then my other team's the only way to survive is Travis Kelce, and playing against Tom Brady. That was my we'll talk about some of that later. But yeah, I had a team that was on a hot streak, the one I mentioned with the weird rules. That team so far has 68 points this week. And it's a league where I was scoring like 150 a week because everybody poo-pooed the bed. And then I had a team that backed in at 6-8. I'm getting ready to win a game as long as Cooper Kupp doesn't score a bajillion points. So just FYI, guys, we're recording this Tuesday morning, so the last two games haven't been played yet. But before we jump into the misery known as having to watch football this week, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Pop us some comments. We're waiting to hear from the Courier Nation. We do see there's more people listening. We actually have an average viewership is up over like the last month, or listenership, I guess it would be. But we're glad to see more people are enjoying the show. We want to keep it going. We will be sharing on the off season. We'll talk about league setups, league MVPs, people we like for next year. We'll talk about the draft. We'll evaluate the rookie class, and then we'll jump right back in probably sooner than we should, getting ready for next fantasy season. So don't go anywhere. The Couriers are going nowhere. We will be here all off season, but we'll help you wrap up the regular season, do a little bit in the playoffs and Super Bowl and whatnot. But we want to hear from you if there's something you want us to talk about. If you want us to talk about every great player on the Detroit Lions, we'll do it. We are people of the people. Hey, there's at least one. We know.
There's a couple I'll talk about.
Sun God should always be talked about. But JJ Wang, this has been a strange week. I called this week, the title of the episode is Pleasure and Pain and Survival.
Oh, it was bad. This is not how I wanted to start off my fantasy week, but after two great weeks, you can't expect to have a third, right? It's got
to I would expect it.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot more pain this week than normal. But we're gonna
and the pleasure is no names. Like the guys we're gonna say here are guys that they were pleasurable if you're a if you have gambling problems. Like you're not starting these guys. Like it's ridiculous.
It was funny, and then all the big guy names or the big name guys just are on the pain part. It was a weird week, but yeah,
we're gonna get tight end.
Yeah, so we're gonna start here with the quarterbacks. Best game of the week went to Tyler Hundley. He had 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then he also had 73 yards rushing with the 2 touchdowns, which was fantastic. So he really showed off without Lamar. What do you got on Hundley? I mean, once Lamar comes back, it's never going to happen again. But
I'm trying to think of a comp, and it's lost with me. But there was another team who had that backup guy who would come in and just I can't think of it. It's many years ago. But I think if you're a Ravens coach, a Ravens fan, there's it was the old Michael Vick and Matt Schaub. You would know if Schaub had to play, you weren't too worried about it back in the day. It was a different kind of player. Like this guy is Lamar Light. But if I was a Ravens fan, the only thing I'd have to worry about is Harbaugh making a stupid call with 2 seconds left in the game, because they said their playoff chances went from like 43% to 6% because he's done it again. But Huntley couldn't be stopped. The problem is he basically threw to one guy. He threw to Andrews, who just blew up and helped save.
Is that all Lamar Jackson does, though?
Lamar doesn't throw that much to Andrews. So I kind of like Huntley more for Andrews. And if he does throw to people like Hollywood 10 times, Hollywood averaged 4.3 per reception, which I almost put him in the pain. Unless you're PPR, you got 10 points. But it was how do you get 10 catches for 43 yards? It's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, Lamar is going to be back, they're saying so. But Huntley, if you have Lamar in Dynasty, Take your soul, chop it into a little piece, give it to the guy, and get him on your bench. I got to figure out who has him and have a discussion during the offseason.
Yeah, he's just like the perfect backup to Lamar Jackson. So kudos to the Ravens for finding literally the exact same player.
And he's a rookie free agent, though. Do you know how long rookie free agent contracts would that give him? I'll look that up while you're talking and give the answer while you tell the next guy.
So the next guys, give a shout out to the Lions here. We got Jared Goff. He had 216 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, I believe. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So and they just wiped the floor with Arizona. It was probably the surprise of the year. You're not going to see too many games like this from Goff. He's playing a little better lately after those string of single performance games that he had. What are the odds? I mean, Jared Goff's going to keep his job for next year, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm starting to look at the draft boards for next year, and I think it's going to change. But they don't have a quarterback going, and on the most recent CBS one, until I want to say it's like pick 13.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. They're going to have people going up to reach for like those top 3 or 6 guys you talked about, but Goff's going to keep his job, and because money speaks, they traded for him hoping he could fill there. I think they're going to do sort of what Miami they're gonna if they're smart. Depends how the leadership's going to go through, but if they're going to do probably similar to what Miami did, where we had Fitzmagic for a couple of years and then drafted the quarterback, but they don't want to kill any more quarterbacks. They can let Goff just get destroyed. But yeah, it's another name you didn't want to say. And here's an interesting tidbit for next year. Tyler Hundley is only on a 1-year contract. Is one of these teams going to be interested in him after these couple of games, or are the Ravens going to pay him?
I mean, if one of those teams runs the exact same offense as the Baltimore Ravens, then sure. But I mean, it's literally got to be that situation for it to really. Your coach has to be willing to switch around, because I don't think he's a great pass. I mean, it didn't look like he's a great passer. He's just like that. Yeah, like you got to pretty much transform the whole offense. Pretty much, I would just stay where he's at. I mean, that's probably his best chance to play. But I pretty much so with Goff, I think they're just going to draft a rookie, probably bench him for the year, just like they was trying. I guess like they're trying to do with Trey Lance. So speaking of rookies, I just want to give a shout out real quick to the trio of Mac Jones, Davis Mills, and Justin Fields for all being top 10 quarterbacks. Good job, guys. So
yeah, I read the docket.
That's how bad it is.
I read the docket. I'm like 3 rookie quarterbacks. Yeah. I'm like, Trevor stunk it up on my team. What are you talking about? But yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to those for being. That's how bad it was this week. All 3 of them are in the top 10. So
I gotta send you a fun picture. Sorry, one tag note on that. I have to send you a picture of Davis Mills. He looks just like my brother.
Oh, does it?
Side by side. I'll send you a photo of it. But yeah, creepy thing. I call it. We found out in a fantasy league. My buddy's like, "Hey, he looks like Davis." Like, it's really weird. My brother's almost 40, and he looks like a 23-year-old man. I would kill for that. Anyway, sorry. Move on to running back. All right, so I'm going to start drooling here in a second.
Switch over to these running backs here. Right, the biggest game of the week goes to Duke Johnson out of nowhere. Sure, nobody started this guy at all. He had 107 Ks for 2 touchdowns. He only had the 1 catch, which is weird because he's known as the pass-catching running back. And then we got Craig Reynolds coming out of nowhere with 100. I think he had 112 yards for the Lions. I mean, he helped the Lions get that big win. And then we had Devin Singletary coming out of nowhere and getting almost 25 touches for the Buffalo Bills, pretty much taking every touch with 86 yards. So I'm going to let you talk about Duke Johnson here in a second. But let's say DeAndre Swift doesn't come back this year and they bench him.
And they bench him.
Well, not bench him, but
they
just bench him for the year. They don't bring him back. Which one of these guys would you rather have for the rest of the year? Well, I mean, if you're desperate, which one of these guys are you taking?
I'm taking all of them. More than likely, I've looked every. You're talking about like Singletary, right?
Devin Singletary, yeah.
You're not going to get him. He's still living on the name brand.
Well, I'm not saying you're not going to get him, but I mean, if you had to have one of these running backs that you could rely on, who are you taking?
I would take Craig Reynolds. I had to look him up. The star of Kutztown University of Pennsylvania. I'd never heard of it. Didn't know it existed, but that you have to get him because you're still if you're playing one of these guys, you're in trouble at running back, or you have really good receivers and tight ends and need someone. But Singletary they're saying they trust him. I don't think so. I think because Josh Allen's still going to steal those touchdowns. Singletary did this the other year. I had him in our league, the one you started years ago, and he's the Seattle Seahawk basically. So he's going to go up. He's going to go down. He's not going to do it again. Next week they're going to throw it to Breda or something silly, or they're not going to run it. I mean, they would be intelligent to use him. Let me put it that way. Coaching, and they got a great coach, so I wouldn't be surprised, but I think I'd have to go with Reynolds because that's if Swift is out. I mean, if not, obviously Singletary. And I mean, even if you throw in Duke, I wouldn't know what to say. Like you'd flip a coin, I'd put in waivers for all of them, and then just see what sticks.
Yeah, I mean, Duke is just that player that just has big games and just never hear from him again for the next 2.5 years. But in that offense, you never know. I mean, he's looked better than any other of those running backs, but he'll come out next week and have 17 yards rushing. So it's hard to. At least you think Craig Reynolds, if Swift doesn't play, he's going to get the carries. So
yeah, I mean, nobody has Fab anymore. So if you're getting him, it's like $1, $2,
yeah, you're right.
or you're the 6th seed and you won a game. But yeah, and here's a Duke thing for my Duke guy. Like I was like, really, Duke? Come on! Like I got Gaskin a couple places. Like, nice, Duke. This is the only time last time Duke scored 2 touchdowns in a game. He played for the University of Miami.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Because he's been a scat back in the pros.
Yeah, he had that one good year with the Browns.
Yeah,
that was about it. I mean, that was all because of receiving.
But he looks so strong. But the Jets. I mean, you and I are linemen for the Jets, so that could be part of it. But he looked his runs were strong for a little guy, and I'd take him over Craig Reynolds because I think they signed him, I think, permanently up from the squad. I believe I read. So
yeah. So jumping over to the receivers here, it's kind of pretty much like the running backs. We got Gabe Davis, who had the 2 touchdowns with the 85 yards. Christian Kirk, he had the 9 catches for 94 yards. And the touchdown that was without DeAndre Hopkins. Of course, he's out for the year. Give a shout out to Brandon Cooks, who's still doing it for every team that he plays. He had 7 catches for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gabe Davis looks like he's becoming more and more part of that offense. The last 2 weeks, he has 8 targets and 7 targets. Christian Kirk, he's more of that volume receiver if he can just be more consistent. And then Brandon Cooks, I mean, he's the only weapon that they have. So.
Yeah, if Davis Mills keeps playing like that, like I apologize publicly on the air to my brother. He had a whole list of guys, and one was Cooks, and I said flip a coin. He didn't pick Cooks, and his team, which really should have rolled my OG dynasty, is out. That he had just some eggs laid like champs, and if he just started Cooks, he'd had 23 in that league. But Kirk's he's playing like Kirk was starting to look like he could play, and that could bode well for the future. But this year, if you have Kirk, you got lucky. I played against Kirk, and luckily the rest of the guys on that guy's team weren't that great. And Gabe Davis, it's too little too late for anybody who did draft him because we tried to get cute, and he was part of the new hotness. Him and like Callaway were the beginning of the season new hotness, and if you drafted them guys, you're probably doomed because you're probably playing in the dumpster bowl or something. But I do have an honorable mention as well for a guy that's on one of my teams that finally played like I said he would in August. His name is Russell Gage, so honorable mention to him. He's starting to play well. Like I thought he was going to have a breakout year, and he just sort of played like poo. But December's been a good month for him, so hopefully it carries over next year since he is the de facto wide receiver 1 in Atlanta.
Yeah, he had some pretty good catches. Like I said, if he can just string it together and be a little bit more consistent, I mean, hopefully it works out. But switching over to literally the worst position in football,
with the best highlights of the week, best numbers here.
We have Hunter Henry here, had 6 catches for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. I even forgot that game was on Saturday night. I just completely forgot all about it. And then we had Dalton Schultz here with another big game. The only weapon the Cowboys had in that game. I don't want to play him, but he has 67 yards and a touchdown. He had 8 targets for 8 receptions. So Dalton Schultz is like currently the number 4 tight end, and he's only 20.
No way.
Yeah. And he's only 25, and he's had a pretty good year. I mean, as far as yards and touchdowns go, I think he could be, those tight ends usually take about 3 years, so that 25, 26 year range. think Dalton Schultz could be like that next tight end that's just like consistently in the top 5 for the next few years as long as he's part of that offense?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say like top 1, 2, 3. I don't think. I think he's gonna be a work pal kind of guy. He's gonna get in there, but I'm so hesitant because he I got it. I was excited when he came into the league, but I don't want to say yes because you did have last week 1 for 4, the week before 5 for 43. So that's why I call him more of a lunch bell kind of guy because you're not going to have I don't think you're going to have the 8 for 67 because there's too many superstars. If they say they trade Zeke away and they keep Pollard, Pollard's the receiver. They got 2 stud receivers. Jerry's going to draft 3 more receivers, and I think he'll be a consistent top. I could 5 to 8 isn't a bad guess. Higher than top 5, I think there's too many up and comers. Like I think Pitts start turning around this week. You're going to look at Waller will be healthy next year. Kelsey's got another year, and I think there's enough. And Andrews right there's 5 guys. Hawkinson, the up and comer from Buffalo. So after I named all those guys, no, no, I'd put him 7 or 8, but with confidence. Like I'd plant a flag there and say this is where he'll be, and he could. But that's deviate 2 or 3.
Sounds good. So that was all the pleasure that we had. I mean,
Oh no, unless you had Travis Kelce.
We could talk about Travis Kelce every week. We could talk about Mark Andrews every week. I'm sure everybody knows.
We can't. He's got COVID.
I know for sure everybody knows what they had. We can talk about the top guys all the time.
Oh, if you want to see that, guys, look for Travis Kelce replacements though. Like he should be okay because he's vaccinated, but I'm a little scared right now.
Well, I mean, if the backup for Travis Kelce comes in, I mean, you can replace him all you want.
No, I don't know what to do.
Doesn't really matter. But you're screwed if you need a backup to replace Kelce at this point.
Yes, you are.
Switching over to the pain, we're gonna knock these. I don't like talking about these, so we're gonna go through these a little quicker. I'm gonna start with the first and my most disappointing because it really made me mad. It cost me a game. And that's Tom Brady. Screw you, Tom Brady. I like you, but this wasn't the week. You could at least scored a point. 214 yards, an interception, and a fumble. I mean,
that fumble was bad too. Like it was like flung down the field.
I don't even want to talk about you right now. So, and we had Carson Wentz. I mean, a whopping 57 yards passing, fantastic.
To win.
Yeah, you're right. Jonathan Taylor got, I don't want to say lucky, but he had that long run at the end of the game to save his fantasy.
He might be.
That's what Jonathan Taylor does. He still had 100 yards before that, but it just wasn't. So, yeah, Carson Wentz was 5 for 12. What are we doing? How is that possible? And then Michael Pittman gets ejected with a point. I'm glad I didn't watch that game. And then you wrote down Glennon here. I'll let you mention him. I'm not really sure what his stats was. I know he got benched.
He had 3, like the stat was, he had 3 interceptions. I was excited. I had Lamar Jackson. So Mike Glennon's numbers, he had 99 passing yards, 3 interceptions. And I was sitting there, I was like, I don't got Lamar. Crud. I don't know if he's going to play. Oh, crud. Waivers processed Saturday, so I played Wentz. And then I got Glennon on waivers. I'm like, yes, I posted. I was like, I'm going to be good. And then I didn't play him because I had to play Tua versus the Jets, which is a super plus matchup. And Tua stunk it up. Like Tua looks pretty bad. And I had a 7-leg parlay. And the only thing I missed was Tua's over on his yards. Like I was like, well, there goes all my money. Thank you.
I know that pick 6 was terrible.
He might as well. He threw it to the guy, but Glennon got benched for Fromm. They are shutting down Daniel Jones, if that says anything. And I'm guessing Fromm might be a pickup. I'm not gonna say him at the end of the game, but I'm saying now Fromm might be. They might see what they got in the rookie because they're drafting a quarterback, or they're gonna go.
If you're in a dynasty league somewhere and Fromm hasn't been picked up yet, and you're in a dynasty league, I mean, go pick him up. I mean, he's a quarterback for an NFL.
Unless you're in our dynasty leagues, or your name is JJ Wang.
I mean, I'll pick him up all over the place. I don't care. I've had it for like 3 weeks.
You're better seated than me. With no money.
But yeah. Switching over to the running backs, this was another terrible day. We had Ramondre, your boy, 36 yards rushing. Get out of here. He sucks.
I love Ramondre. It was painful.
Well, that game wasn't very good. There's bums everywhere. And then you had James Conner. Obviously, everybody on that team was terrible except Christian Kirk. He's not getting the touchdowns. It's hard for him to be that guy, but it's still what you've gotten out of him this year for what you paid for him, still acceptable. And this is a guy you don't get to bring up here very often, and that's Alvin Camaro.
Ooh.
Only I think 4 points, but this is what you get when you had Taysom Hill. You're going to have games like this from Camaro. This isn't going to continue, though, for him, though, right?
I hope not. I've got him in one of my leagues that won. My brother he's like, how did I lose points on Camaro at the end of the game? Like, what's going on? He says -1. He's like, what's they're going backwards? Like, I'm already losing, and because these names you're mentioning scared the crap out of me. My team that had the bye, I have Brady, I have Godwin, I have Connor, I have Deontay Johnson. Everybody who pooped the bed this week had a bye week. Thank God for me. But Kamara's going to bounce. Oh, not next week, obviously, because he's playing the mighty Dolphins. But he'll get his next week. They're playing better, but is it the Taysom Hill effect? Because Taysom had some nice runs. They finally started playing runs a little bit into the game. Could be the effect. Connor, I think, just like really I added in here, the whole pleasure is the entire Lions team, because that was fun to see them win. And the pain might be the entire Falcons team, because you shouldn't lose to the Lions. I'm sorry, the Cardinals. But yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was
bad.
That was a poop show. Speaking of poop shows, wide receivers was a poop show as well. This was terrible.
I love the third one. Yeah.
Amari Cooper had a point. I think Chase had a point. And my biggest disappointment of the week was Cordero Patterson only had 3 points. What's disappointing to me about Patterson is they're just not using him the same way as they was 5 weeks ago. He's turned into more of the running back and then not the receiver. That's why I went out and got him, because he was getting the dual position part. But he's just pretty much a running back at this point. They're using Mike Davis a lot more. I mean, it's pretty heartbreaking. I traded a lot for him too.
Yeah, it made me giggle because I've gotten burnt by Patterson all year. Chase is my pain. I still won. His 1 for 3. Let me phrase that. Unless Cooper Kupp explodes for 72,000 yards tonight, I'm at a plus 25 with I have Smith and he has Kupp, so it's gonna be close. But yeah, Chase was painful. I mean, he's been painful recently. He's like, he hit the rookie wall, which is really odd, and he hits it because the rest of the receivers are good. It's not like he's surrounded by putts. It's like someone like Smith could have a good game because everybody else stinks. But yeah,
he's got to play. I don't care how good the other receivers are. He's got to play better than that. I mean, there's a lot of teams with a lot of good receivers, and they're better than one catch or zero catch.
My brother made a point, though. It was Denver's secondary, which is pretty good. So he's like, don't worry, don't freak out yet, because Denver does have a pretty decent secondary. So
I'm not freaking out in the long run. I mean, I'm freaking out for this year, but I mean,
he's my playoff receiver.
It's been like a bad 5 games in a row, but yeah, I'm not really too worried about it. And the only tight end I'm going to bring up here that's bad, because I mean, all tight ends are pretty much bad, and that's Gronk. Was disappointing. I think they said he had 11 targets and 2 catches or some crazy.
The ball's falling out of his giant paws. It was crazy.
But with the injuries, the only weapons he's going to have is Gronk and Antonio Brown coming back, so they might feast a lot. But yeah, you're still going to start. You're still going to start Gronk.
Yeah. Okay, is everybody ready? Here we go. It's the most exciting segment in football, because we need something happy after all that misery. It's surefire waste of a touchdown. Oddly enough, this week when I went through it, most of the touchdowns were scored by people we've heard of. So that's why the first one of these in the middle is kind of a fun one to do. So, of course, we have to look at the Miami Dolphins running game. There was a 1-yard, 6-yard run. Of course, if you had Myles Gaskin, you were excited, but nope. That was Duke Johnson. That was too definite.
Surefire waste of a touchdown. And that was surefire waste of a game on his part. Ain't nobody start that guy.
Yeah, and yeah, if you started him, you are rich, just like the guys that bet on the Lions. Okay, we had 1-yard rushing touchdowns in the only points scored and the only touchdowns scored in the Pittsburgh Tennessee game. So of course we're looking at Najee could have been on poop the bed, Najee, and it was probably Deontay Foreman. No, wait, how about these 2 guys for a touchdown? Big Ben and Ryan Tannehill. Those are 2. You got points because you started on quarterback, but really they wasted. They are.
Surefire waste of a touchdown. But I'm really glad Ben got that touchdown instead of Najee Harris. I was praying.
Maybe they're a
right.
surefire take of a touchdown. That's what they could be. They are touchdown thieves.
Yeah.
So let's go to Carolina. Chuba Hubbard didn't look terrible. Cam was running. So here comes our 23-yard catch out of the backfield for a touchdown. Huh? Amir Abdullah? Come on, man. That's a
surefire waste of a touchdown. But I didn't know he was still playing.
Well, he was hot on the waiver wire this week. I saw him.
This year. It's like crazy.
I
feel like we was trying to play Abdullah like 12 years ago.
Oh, he was great. We were like, Minnesota, he's going to be the no. Detroit had a stellar game. And, our boy Craig Reynolds, who we said to pick up if you can, just to have him. Don't know if you want to play him. 6-yard reception out of the back. Wait, no. Huh? Who is this? Jason Kabinda, fullback for the Detroit Lions. 6-yard touchdown reception. That's a
surefire waste for a touchdown. I've never heard of him.
This next guy, I wish I'd never heard of. 5-yard receiving touchdown from Oakland. So, wait, they don't have anybody. So no matter who it is, even if it is Brian Reynolds, it's a
surefire waste with a touchdown. The guy's a bum.
Yeah. I mean, he at that point when he called the touchdown, he had 2 catches for 0 yards. Let's go.
Yeah, 1 catch for 8 yards. Now it's a touchdown.
Yeah. No. This was when he had the touchdown. The next.
Oh, yeah. But that was his final stat line was
3 for 8. He's terrible. Justin Fields gets a nice passing touchdown, 19-yard pass. Mooney. Nope. Mooney touched the line there on that one play, and they turned over. This was Jesper Horsted, 19-yard touchdown reception in garbage time. Yeah, that's a
surefire waste of a touchdown.
Now let's jump on the DJ Dove special of the week. My favorite play of the Dolphins Jets game. There was a 1-yard touchdown catch. That sounds like Gesicki because that's what I needed. No, Christian Wilkins, defensive player for the Miami Dolphins. I think he's a nose tackle. If you ever want to see some cool stats, look up when he got drafted. He jumped up on the stage. He's from Clemson, picked up Goodell and spun him around the stage. After he scored, he jumped up into the stands and then did the worm. It was this dude is hilarious. I like him as a human. He's a funny dude, but still, that's a
surefire waste of a touchdown.
At least he gave it to Tua. So everybody else is pretty par for the course. As we're heading into this week, if Rojo is on the waivers, they're going to have to ride him because he's out. If some knucklehead dropped AB because they were mad at him, pick him up because they got no one else to throw to. If you have Lamar and Huntley's there, you might want to get him, as well as everybody pretty much mentioned in the first segment of Pleasure for the Week. We said last week our schedule might get messed up, but nope, our schedules got updated that we will be recording Thursday night. I might even release it an early Thursday night showing so you can hear us before your Christmas Eve festivities. So we'll record Thursday night, might even record Thursday night all of our Christmas week stuff. So you get to enjoy some more Fantasy Couriers, keep spreading the news. JJ Wang, give us some weekly wisdom and get us out of here.
Yeah, just don't let the fantasy playoffs get you down, man. I know it's a rough week. You're all hurt and relying on these last couple games. Don't let it get you down too much. It's not worth being depressed over. I was depressed in the beginning when I started playing fantasy, but you learn to get over it and just even take happiness in the losses because it's just a game. It's all fun. And then, as always, trust yourself and trust the process.